Thanks for everybody for coming. We'll have Coach Mendenhall make some opening remarks, and then we'll open it up for questions.
Yeah, good morning. In regards to our UTEP game, again, gratifying and really excited for our team, for the young people in our program, coaches and families, the community, and just Utah State football. I was encouraged by the quality of football. I would say the base level of consistency and coordination, and how the plans held for the first game. Certainly improvements to make, but encouraged for sure. I think lots to build on. The team's excited. I'm excited. We're encouraged, and we're optimistic about our future, and look forward to the upcoming week. A great opportunity. And so with that, I'll take questions.
I wanted to ask about
coach. Oh, over here. Got the talking stick.
Yeah, sorry. Eric Franson from the 6'9" The Fan. First half versus second half for your team. Was there offensively? Was it the game plan to be a little bit more conservative and chew clock, or was UTEP just making some adjustments that made it a little bit more difficult for you guys to be as effective?
Yeah, both. When we had a 3-score lead, certainly we were going to be more conservative, not conservative, but more conservative. And as UTEP sensed that, they played more and more and more aggressive. And the combination of that, we didn't really take then an opportunity to exploit their aggressiveness, and thought that we could methodically and just routinely move the chains, score, but also separate from them. So we didn't execute quite well enough, especially on third down. And that ended up being the primary difference of half 2 to half 1. They were more aggressive. We were slightly more conservative. We believed that we could be consistent on third down. We weren't. And that's really what happened.
Okay, I'll try this again.
Yeah.
Because I want to ask about the offensive line. I think you have like 6 sacks, total 13 pressures. But looking back, a few of those sacks just seemed like it wasn't so much just beating the guy in front of you. It seemed like a lot of those just missed a guy that was coming that you didn't expect. It's like, what's your thoughts on the offensive line versus their ability to just beat the guy in front of them, and how much those issues were just scheme-wise?
Yeah, the sacks that came were multifaceted, and really about there's all different kinds of ways the quarterback gets sacked. Sometimes it's timing, rhythm, and decision making by the quarterback, and so we had some of that. Sometimes it's communication between the offensive front. We had some of that. Sometimes it's the coordination between the front and the running back. We had some of that. And sometimes it's just technical, where someone does beat us and the ball's not delivered in time. And so each of those manifest at some level, and great feedback for us, things we can certainly work on. And there was enough of each of those where I can't say it's any one thing, but certainly an area to improve.
Coach Mendenhall, I will do this right this time. Jason Turner from the Herald-Journal. I noticed that Tavo was listed atop the depth chart today. How big of a piece is he to your team, and what are the odds that he'll be good to go on Saturday?
Yeah, Tavo, he certainly makes a difference, experience, but also capacity and capability. Had practiced all fall camp, and we expect to have him back. Again, I can't go further than that, but that's our expectation, and that'll make a real helpful difference for us in terms of chemistry, coordination, and the ability component of our offensive front. So we're looking forward to having him back in the lineup.
Coach, I want to ask about your key special teams against UTEP. Obviously, Tanner's not was Special Teams Player of the Week, and then Rico was really good in the punting area. 3 of 7 punts down inside the 20. I'm a big punting guy, and so I want to ask, what is it like, or how much comfort is it to you that you can have a kicker who's reliable in field goal range, and then also have a punter who can flip the field like Rico did on Saturday night?
Yeah, in order, Tanner did a really nice job. I think the first field goal was a 49-yarder, and to start the season, and for him in particular, great momentum and confidence builder. Our punting was, and Landon did a really nice job. Our net punt, I think, was exceptional. Most of UTEP's drives, I think, on average from the middle of the third quarter on, their average starting field position, I think, was the 13-yard line coming out, their own 13. So we were playing complementary football. While we weren't picking up third downs, we were punting and pinning, and we were playing good defense. So there was a complementary approach to how we were playing, which ended up yielding the win. We would have loved to have more third down conversions, but Landon's punting was really helpful in just terms of how we finished the game. And I would actually add Zach in terms of our kickoffs, other than the first that was out of bounds, which I think is, and when you come home off a mission and you put on the pads and it's your first home football game and your first college game, I probably would have kicked it out of bounds too. And then he did a really nice job. He recovered fast.
I don't think we got to ask after the game, but Anthony Garcia moving to wide receiver. Obviously, has the athleticism to do that. That seemed to be one of the things you kind of hid from everyone, is that you're going to move from there. Let's talk about his performance there starting at receiver.
Yeah, Anthony did a really nice job. We've had some injuries at receiver. Anthony's a really good athlete. That doesn't mean that he'll exclusively play receiver. We like him at quarterback also. However, in the meantime, and this philosophy really goes all the way back to Taysom Hill at BYU. While he was our quarterback, if there would have been another viable option at quarterback where it was close, we certainly would have used Taysom elsewhere. The Saints are currently, he's played about every position for them. At the University of Virginia, we loved having our backup quarterbacks while they were competing and while they were the understudy. We loved them to participate at other positions. And so it's just philosophically, it's way more fun to play than watch. And I think you can actually learn to play the position of quarterback while playing another position. And I think you're more integrated in the offense. So, yeah, AG is just a great candidate for that for us.
You mentioned on Saturday, Coach, that 9 different guys played in the defensive trenches, and we noticed they were rotating in and out constantly. So how good are you feeling about the depth of that position right now, playing 9 guys in game one?
Really nice. A nice luxury to have where we think there's that number of players that can contribute. It allows us to be more fresh, but also more physical, more intense. And competition makes really everyone a better coach or leader because there's an inherent drive not only each individual has, but really it drives the way that our team trains and practices, literally, because that depth could change daily based on performance. So that number of players is really elevating the performance of the group, which I think is good for everybody.
Coach, a chance to go to Texas, the state of Texas.
I like Texas.
There's usually a number of players on the roster from that state. There's a variety of different connections there. Just your comments about getting into Texas, its importance for recruiting, and the opportunity to go into an atmosphere like Texas A&M.
Yeah, really excited about the opportunity. College football is awesome. There's lots of pageantry, lots of excitement, lots of history. Ultimately, you play football, and our focus will be on that. The state itself, we are recruiting Texas. We have some players on our roster that have Texas ties, and so we intend to recruit. I'm not a coach that really loves to send coaches out recruiting in season, but sometimes when we're visiting a location, Friday night games, whatever location when we're watching, Snow Junior College is actually playing, my alma mater, they're playing in Texas, which so it'll be fun to recruit and watch that game while that's happening as well. So lots of different things happening. Ultimately, besides recruiting, besides playing at Texas A&M, it's a football game, and my specialty is kind of blocking out all the noise and just grinding on the day-to-day. So I found that I haven't really had to promote or acknowledge the excitement about the game and where we might be going. If anything, I'm the exact opposite, and the rest of it kind of takes care of itself.
Coach, I want to ask about Texas A&M. Obviously, the game you got coming up. About their team against UTSA, they gave up a lot of rushing yards, I think 203. Their starting running back had like 177. This is an issue for Texas A&M last year. Is that something you feel like you can attack with this team? Obviously, it's hard to attack any SEC team, but is that something you feel like you can maybe exploit?
You know, you always look for relative points of reference or realistic points of reference. Fun to watch UTSA. I think they do a nice job, and it's really a helpful game for us. Like their plan, they did a really nice job. Obviously, the game went Texas A&M's way, but it was very competitive for a long time. And so anytime you play an opponent, you look for what worked and see if you could replicate, see if those matchups might be similar, and then knowing the opponent's looking at the same thing, working to address maybe any things that they could have done better. So our style isn't exactly the same as UTSA's, but you look for concepts, you look for things that might be helpful, and that's what we'll do.
And looking at the quarterbacks, as a kid who was a freshman last year, had some room to grow. I don't know if you were watching him a ton last year, but looking at this year's game, what have you seen from him where he's maybe taking some steps forward?
Yeah, dynamic football player, fast decision maker, good arm strength, mobile, and yeah, I think their future is really bright. He's going to grow and progress as he is and already has. So yeah, I think he's going to be a really good player.
It'll be trickier for you with him where like Malachi Nelson wasn't really much of a runner as far as scrambling. Reed's going to be a lot like how much more of a challenge is going to be?
Yeah, it's significant. It always costs an extra defensive number when a quarterback can run. It's really our preference as well to have a dual threat quarterback because of the numbers and how that changes when a quarterback can run and throw. And so I think it's wise that Texas A&M has him and is playing him, and it makes it more challenging defensively for sure.
And then as far as Texas A&M's own run game, did it surprise you kind of how little they ran it against UTSA, where they were a pretty good run team last year and then didn't really? I think Le'Veon Moss had like 5 or so carries.
Yeah, UTSA played really good run defense. They did a super nice job. And because of that, right, the perimeter was a little more susceptible. And, right, each team takes their own approach defensively. UTSA made an emphasis to play the run really well, and they did. And sometimes that comes at the expense of maybe a big play or two through the throw game. And so you balance it the best you can. But I think most really good offenses, regardless of what patch they're wearing conference-wise or what their tradition is, they still have to play football and they still match up to the schemes they see. And no matter how good a team, if they're giving you something, then you take what they're giving you rather than just, run into the strength of maybe a defensive approach. So I think that's what they did.
Coach, I want to ask about Kyle Field. They have the 6th largest crowd ever against UTSA. They attend the game. 12 fans, obviously a big one of the toughest places to play in the country. How do you guys try to simulate getting ready to play in a place of 100-something thousand in a place that loud?
Yeah, you really can't. So you acknowledge it, the brutal fact that it's going to be loud. There's going to be lots of people. And then you just go play the game. So crowd noise, sometimes having that during practice helps. The excitement is just part of it. Again, I'm just really process-oriented, so we've acknowledged it. We'll continue to acknowledge it, but not overemphasize it, and we'll just go play football.
Coach, they have a lot of guys back on defense, 8 returning starters, I want to say. How tough are they in the secondary with guys like Lees, Chappell, and Ratcliffe, and what else about their defense really flashes to you when you see them?
Just really well coordinated and really well coached, so there's a rhyme and a reason and a method for what they're doing and why. They have good personnel to do it with, and it's a proven system with lots of success at a historic place that is able to attract good talent, which is all just a great challenge. And so lots of pieces in place for them to play well.
Last question for me, Coach. Just had the opportunity spending a lot of time just observing your sideline in Game 1. And interesting to note how you normally are 20, 25 yards separated from your assistants and position coaches. Why is that? And besides assessing the players on the field, you're also looking at how well your coaches did in Game 1 here at Utah State.
Yeah. As a defensive play caller, and this started when we were defending and playing option football, I always found that I could see much better away from my staff and almost as if I was standing behind the team looking at it this way. And so I see more clearly. My feedback is more accurate than I'm able to give. And I'm able to focus at a higher level. Again, I have a headset on, so I don't have to be right next to anyone to say what I think or what I'd like to have done. But I'm more accurate. You're never as accurate as after the game when you see the film, never as accurate as from the press box, but on the field, the next most accurate for me is when I'm removed. And so that's the way I prefer to do it. In terms of our coaching staff, just really, I thought our team was very well prepared, offensively, defensively, and special teams. I think there were some nice adaptations as well. Again, even though Offensively, we didn't pull away in the second half, which was our intent, and kind of stalled. Defensively and special teams wise, we compensated for that, which I call complementary football. And so that allowed us to not take unnecessary chances offensively, rely on field position and the defense to then seal the game, which is we did. That doesn't mean we wouldn't have preferred to separate, but the compensation of our staff, defensively and special teams, that coordinated effort as we were talking through it ended up being really well done. And so I was proud of my staff. I really was, and thought lots was done well as with our team.
Hey, Coach Mendenhall, Trent Wood with the Deseret News.
That came out of nowhere.
On Zoom. I've got a couple questions for you. You've been through a lot of season openers. Your team had not, though, and I'm curious how you felt they handled the emotion of going out there Saturday night.
Man, I think that was one of the things I was most gratified about. There's a lot of new players on this team, a lot of new coaches, a whole organization that's brand new coming together. Families have moved and players have moved and relocated, and there's been a lot of work being put in since December. And they were certainly excited, but it didn't feel too big the moment, and it felt like they were prepared. And while they were excited, I thought they were really workmanlike, and I like that approach. So I thought they handled it really well, probably beyond what I expected in terms of managing their emotions. There were a few procedural things, penalty-wise, that we all saw, and I expect those to be cleaned up. But the rest, in terms of things that sometimes happen of how chippy it might be or unsportsmanlike or some of that nonsense, I think we managed that really well.
And then the last one for me, obviously a game like Texas A&M, there is a financial aspect to it, but I'm curious beyond that, are there any benefits to playing a team like that in the non-conference this early in the season?
Man, besides just a great challenge and a great opportunity and to play college football, I love the chance to play really good teams. I love the chance to test the mettle of our team, our staff, our program. The metrics are always really helpful. I never have an issue with picking a game like this and playing it. It's usually not wise to play 2 of those games per year. A lot of times when you choose to play 2 of those games with a very difficult conference full of parity, you end up damaging your team even though you might grow financially. It's usually at the expense of your roster. Sometimes it's at the expense of confidence, and it's really hard to sustain. And so you can count on a game like this every year that I'm the head coach. I'd prefer not to play 2. I've inherited some. When you take over programs, sometimes games are scheduled like 5 years out. But I would advise against playing 2 of those games, and then, all right, again, the focus is to win the conference championship. And again, I'm not talking about it being afraid, or not talking about conceding a victory. I'm just talking about the travel, managing the roster, and having your best chance to win the conference. And so that's the perspective I'm putting it in.
Hey, Coach Patrick Mayhorn from the Ag Ship. I'd like to ask about William Holmes on the defensive line. He's a true sophomore, but a little bit of a unique sophomore in that he's been a professional athlete before on the baseball side. How has that helped him in knowing how to prepare, knowing how to carry himself?
Yeah, Will is a really fun player to work with as he's learning the game of football and transitioning from baseball. Great metrics and great measurables, and he's learning to apply that in a brand new sport, in a brand new game, in a new position. Really fun to see his growth, and just to have his maturity. He's really open. He's really transparent. He knows what experiences before have helped him, and he knows what some maybe have been in the way of transitioning to football, and some of the mindset things that are a little bit different by sport. But really been a joy to work with, and I think he'll have a great season.
Coach, sorry, I lied.
Yeah, this will cost you one for next week. We'll have to subtract. Doug, can you make a note? There's one less question. Yeah.
Relatively clean first half as far as penalties, but then they certainly stacked up in the second half. Was that just a lot of new guys on the field, or
no?
How would you assess that, and how are you addressing that?
Yeah, I don't think so. 5 of which were special teams, and so that was one of the things that I didn't pick up on that as clearly during the game, as that they were happening more in special teams, and so Yeah, besides the mindset and how we were covering the kicks, the precision prior to kicking or punting the ball, or some of the executional things that they need to be cleaned up. And so really the penalties, anything that happens in the game usually reflects preparation, and so we were a little bit light maybe on the operational side of some of the kicking game.